We take this opportunity to welcome you once again to Flokel Show, a show that informs, shares, and educates. Today we are going to look at a new concept, or the next concept which is used in VisualBasic.net, and the concept is on operators. In the other ones, we are going to look at the types of operators which are used in VisualBasic.net. And we start by defining what an operator is. So what's an operator? In our simple definition, we will say that an operator is a symbol that tells a compiler to perform specific mathematical or logical manipulations. VisualBasic.net is rich in built-in operators and provides the following types of commonly used operators. Number one, we have what we refer to as arithmetic operators. Then number two, we have comparison operators. Number three, we have logical and bitwise operators. Number four, we have bit shift operators. We have assignment operators. And to a greater extent, we also have miscellaneous operators. Remember, VisualBasic.net is still growing, and we keep on having some improvements, one version after the other. The most current version as at now, we have seen VisualBasic.net 2022. So then this tutorial will explain mostly commonly used operators. We might not discuss all, but we are going to look at the mostly commonly used operators. Number one, we start with looking at arithmetic operators. These are very common, and especially when we come to develop VisualBasic.net programs. And we have a table here which shows a number of them. We shall have our operator, and then of course followed by the description. So if you look at this is an operator which raises one operand to the power of another. An example we have here, of course, we have in our earlier studies in mathematics, we talked about indices, powers. So this is the one which is supposed to raise a certain number to power of another. For example, b raised to power a will give 49. For example, if b in our case is 7, then raised to power 2, then this will give you the value as 49. Then the second operator here is the one which is used for addition, and it earns 2 operands. So assuming we have a which is 2 and b which is 7, so it means 2 plus 7, which will give us the value as 9. Then we have the other arithmetic operator here, which subtracts second operand from the first. In our case, if we still have our value a, which in our case is 2, and then we have 7, so we have 2 minus 7, which will give us the result as -5. Then we have the next operator here, which is used to multiply. It multiplies both operands. We have our case here, a which is 2 and b 7, so 2 times 7 will give us 14. And then we have the next arithmetic operator, which divides numbers. In our case, it divides one operand by another and returns a floating point result. So if we, for example, in our case, we have b, which we said it will be 7, then divide by 2 will give us the result as 3.5. And then we still have 2 more operators, which are arithmetic, and this is another operator here, which is dividing operand by another and returns an integer result. For instance, if we have a b 7 divided by, we have 7 divided by 2, 7 divided by 2 will give us 3. It disregards the remainder. In our case, it will not give us the remainder. And then we have the last one here, which is the modulus operator, and modulus operator and remainder of after will output the remainder of the results. In our case, when we have 7 divided by 2, the result which we are supposed to get is 3 remainder 1, but it will just output the remainder, which is 1. Then the next types of operators that we look at in Visual Basic.NET is what we call comparison operators. And we have a table here which will try to show us how these operators look like. So in our case here, we have the operator description, and of course we can have an example of what happens. The first one is this one here, and it checks if the values of 2 operands are equal or not. If yes, then condition becomes true. For instance, in our earlier case we said A was 2 and B was 7, and so if we say A is equals to 2 is equals to 7, it's not true. And then we have the next operator here. We have the next operator here. This one checks if the values of 2 operands are equal or not. If the values are not equal, then the condition becomes true. So in our case here, and Ari alone said A is 2, B is 7. If we say A is not equal to 7, or B 2 is not equal to 7, of course that one is true. Then the other operator which we look at is this one, and this one checks if the value of the left operand is greater than the value of the right operand, and if yes, then the condition becomes true. Let's look at our case. A was given as 2 and B was 7. The question is 2 greater than 7? Is 2 greater than 7? Of course, this one is not true. 2 is not greater than 7. And then the next one here, which is the condition for less than, it checks if the value of the left operand is less than the value of the right operand, and if yes, then the condition becomes true. And we go back to our example. 2 in our case, A was 2 and B was 7, then 2 is less than 7. Of course that one is true. Then we have the next comparison operator here. In our case here, this one is read as greater than or equal to, and it checks if the value of left operand is greater than or equal to the value of right operand. If yes, then the condition becomes true. The question is A, which in our case we had given an example as 2, is 2 greater than or equal to B or equal to 7? This is not true. 2 is not greater than 7, neither is it equal to 7. And then the other operator which we look at here, it checks if the value of left operand is less than or equal to the value of right operand. If yes, then the condition becomes true. And we go back to our example. We said A was 2, B was 7. The question is 2 less than or equal to 7? Of course the answer is true. It may not be equal to 7, but it is less than 7. So the output will be true. Then apart from the above VB.NET comparison operators, we have these addition ones. We have this case is operator. It compares 2 object reference variables and determines if 2 object references refers to the same object without performing value comparisons. If object 1 and object 2 both refer to the exact same object instance, then the result is true. Otherwise, the result is false. Is not operator is also compares 2 object reference variables and determines if 2 object reference refers to different objects. If object 1 and object 2 both refer to the exact same object instance, then the result is false. Otherwise, the result is true. We have another one more additional comparison operator here, which is like operator. Now with this, it compares a string against a pattern. We now continue to look at the other types of operators in VisualBasic.net, and in our case here, we are referring to logical bitwise operators. And we have a table here which shows all the logic operators supported by VisualBasic.net. And of course, if we assume that A owns a Boolean value true and variable B owns the Boolean value false, then what happens? So we are going to use our case of our A here for a true value, B for a false value, to compare and see what happens in logic operators. So we start with the logical operator AND. And in this case, it is the logical as well as bitwise AND operator. If both the operands are true, then condition becomes true. This operator does not perform short circuiting. That is, it evaluates both the expressions. Then the next operator here is OR the logical OR. It is the logical as well as bitwise OR operator. If any of the two operands is true, then condition becomes true. This operator does not perform short circuiting. That is, it evaluates both expressions. Then the next, what we have next is what we call the NOT, the logical NOT. This is the logical as well as bitwise NOT operator. It is used to reverse the logical statement of its operand. If a condition is true, then logical NOT operator will make it false. Then we have the exclusive OR the logical exclusive OR. It is a logical as well as bitwise logical exclusive OR operator. It returns true if both expressions are true or both expressions are false. Otherwise, it returns false. This operator does not perform short circuiting. It always evaluates both expressions, and there is no short circuiting counterpart of this operator. Then we have the logical operator AND also. It is the logical operator AND, and it works only on Boolean data. It performs short circuiting. Then we have OR else. It is a logical OR operator. It works only on Boolean data. It performs short circuiting. Is false. It determines whether an expression is false. Is true. It determines whether an expression is true.